All right, welcome. Let's talk about something that drives pretty much everyone crazy. Projects that just blow past their deadlines and budgets, no matter how well you plan. Well, there's a method designed to fix exactly that. It's called Critical Chain Project Management, or CCPM for short. And we're going to break down how it all works.
So let's just start with the big question, right? The one that I'm sure keeps a lot of you up at night. You do everything right, you've got the perfect plan, an awesome team, you know exactly what you need to do. And yet, why does it still feel like you're constantly playing catch-up? What is that one thing that always seems to derail the whole train?
Well, here's the answer. And you know what? It's almost deceptively simple. It's because most project plans are based on a total fantasy. They're built assuming that the right people, the right tools, the right everything will just poof, appear the second you need them. But we all know that's not how the real world works. Not even close.
Okay, so to really get why this new approach is such a game changer, we first have to look at the old way of doing things. And that means we need to talk about the trouble with something called the critical path.
And this is where you can really see the problem. On one hand, you have the plan, the critical path method, or CPM. And look, it's great for figuring out the order of tasks. But the problem is, it lives in a fantasy world where resources are infinite. Then you have, well, reality, where your best engineer can't be in two places at once, and that one critical machine is always in demand. CPM just focuses on the sequence of tasks, but in the real world, it's those resource conflicts that create all the hidden delays.
And this right here, this is why that old method is so fragile. Think of the critical path like a line of dominoes. It's the longest chain of tasks that have to happen one after the other. If just one of those dominoes gets delayed, even a little bit, the whole line stops and your project's end date gets pushed back. There's just no safety net.
So it's pretty clear the path is the problem. We need a totally new way of thinking about this. It's time to move from a fragile path to a much, much stronger chain.
And this new way of thinking comes from something called the theory of constraints, developed by a brilliant guy named Dr. Eliyahu Goldratt. Now, we could spend a whole day on this, but the core idea you need to get is this. Stop trying to make everything faster. Instead, find the one single thing that's slowing the whole system down, the bottleneck, and focus all your energy there. It all boils down to this super simple, super powerful idea. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link, right? It doesn't matter how strong all the other links are. Your project can only move as fast as its biggest bottleneck. Trying to speed up anything else is frankly a waste of time. You have to fix that one weakest link.
All right, so how does this actually translate into a practical solution? Well, this is where we get to the secret weapon of critical chain project management. And it's all about the power of buffers.
So here it is, Critical Chain Project Management, or CCPM. What it does is it takes that old critical path and transforms it into the critical chain. And what's the big difference? The chain is the longest sequence of tasks that considers both the task order and your limited resources. It's a plan based on reality, not on a perfect world fantasy.
And here's the magic trick. You know how everyone pads their estimates, right? You add a little safety time to every single task just in case. Well, CCPM says that's incredibly wasteful. So instead, you strip out all that individual padding. You take all that saved up safety time from every task and you pool it together into big strategic buffers that protect the entire project.
Okay, first up is the big one, the project buffer. This is like the main shock absorber for the entire project. You place this big block of time at the very end of the critical chain. So if a task on that chain takes a little longer, it eats into the buffer, not your deadline. Everyone can see how much buffer is left, so you always know the real health of the project.
Then you've got feeding buffers. These are clever. Imagine you have other less critical tasks that eventually need to feed into your main critical chain. A feeding buffer is a smaller block of time placed right at that merge point. It's like a quarantine zone. It absorbs any delays from those side tasks so they don't infect the main critical work.
And last, there's the resource buffer. Now, this one's a bit different. It's not actually a block of time. Think of it more like a signal or an alarm. It's like the on-deck circle in baseball. It gives a heads up to the person or machine needed for the next critical task, telling them, hey, get ready, you're up soon. This makes sure there's no wasted time during handoffs.
Okay, that's the theory behind it all. Sounds good, right? But how does it actually work in the real world? Let's walk through the steps.
So here's the process in a nutshell. First, you get rid of all that hidden safety padding in everyone's estimates. Cut them way down. Second, you figure out your true critical chain by looking at your resource conflicts. Third and fourth, you plug in your project buffer at the end and your feeding buffers where they're needed. And finally, and this one might feel weird at first, you schedule tasks to start as late as possible. I know, it sounds crazy, but this forces everyone to focus on one thing at a time and stops that destructive multitasking that kills productivity.
And what this does is it creates this huge, fundamental shift in the team's mindset. It's no longer about every person hoarding their own little bit of safety time and just worrying about their own deadline. Suddenly, it's about one shared goal, everyone working together to protect that one shared project buffer. It changes from me to we.
So why does all this matter? Why go through the effort to change how you plan? Because this new mindset pays off in some really big ways, and it directly solves those frustrations we talked about at the very beginning.
I mean, look at the benefits here. Projects actually get finished faster. Your team becomes way more productive because they're not juggling a million things at once. You stop wasting all that hidden safety time, and it helps overcome some, let's say, very human behaviors, like something called student syndrome.
Ah yes, student syndrome. We've all been there. The professor gives you a month to write a paper, so naturally you start the night before it's due. That's student syndrome. By removing all the padding from tasks, CCPM basically eliminates the opportunity to procrastinate. The work needs to start now, because the deadline for that task is now. The urgency is just baked right in. So I want to leave you with this question. At its heart, this whole idea is about identifying what's truly critical and then building smart safety nets, buffers, to protect it. So think about your own work, or even your own life. What's your critical chain? What's the one thing that everything else depends on? And more importantly, what buffers can you build to make sure it's protected? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.